The Johnsons' house was buzzing with life. Bright strings of lights hung across the walls, bouncing off the polished wooden floor and giving the rooms a warm glow. Music floated through the air, soft at first, then louder as the evening went on. Balloons swayed gently in every corner, and tables were stacked with cakes, cookies, and bowls of colorful candies. The scent of fresh popcorn and chocolate filled the rooms. Teenagers laughed in small clusters, chatting about school, friends, and weekend plans. Among the crowd, Emily sat in her wheelchair near the doorway. Her dress was soft blue, flowing and elegant, a shade that matched the color of her bright eyes. Her hair was neatly braided, falling over her shoulders. Emily loved being at parties, but she always felt slightly apart. Not because she didn't want to join in, but because she knew the world often treated her differently. She watched her friends from a distance. Mia and Sarah waved at her from across the room, and Emily smiled, waving back. She could hear the laughter of the other teens, and for a moment she felt normal, as if she were just another girl enjoying a party. But the joy was fragile, and she knew it. Near the staircase, a group of teenagers gathered, whispering to one another with mischievous smiles. Among them were Derek and Tom, tall boys with confident grins and an air of superiority. They were well known for their pranks and teasing, and unfortunately their jokes often crossed lines that shouldn't be crossed. Their eyes landed on Emily, and something cruel sparked between them. "Look who's sitting there like a statue," Derek whispered, nudging Tom with his elbow. "She thinks she belongs here," Tom smirked. "Let's make her feel special. In our own way." Before anyone could react, Derek stepped forward and shouted, "Move, cripple!" His foot nudged Emily's wheelchair slightly, sending a shiver of fear through her. Gasps spread through the room as people turned to see what had happened. Emily's hands gripped the sides of her wheelchair tightly. Her cheeks burned and tears threatened to spill, but she refused to let them fall. Emily's friends rushed toward her. Mia placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Emily, are you okay?" she asked softly. Emily nodded, though her hands still trembled. Derek and Tom laughed loudly, enjoying the shock and attention they had caused. Some of the nearby teens stared silently, unsure of what to do, while others whispered among themselves. The room's laughter, once innocent, had turned tense. At that moment, Mrs. Clara, the family's maid, entered the scene. She had been quietly cleaning in another room, but the commotion drew her attention. Mrs. Clara was tall and strong, with deep brown skin and eyes that seemed to see everything. Her hands rested lightly on her hips as she approached, and even before she spoke, the room seemed to notice her presence. "Is that how you treat someone?" Her voice was calm, yet there was a firmness in it that demanded attention. The music seemed to fade, replaced by an uneasy silence. Derek's smirk faltered. "Who are you to stop us?" he asked, though there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "I am someone who doesn't allow cruelty in this house," Mrs. Clara replied. Her gaze shifted from Derek to Tom, who had grown noticeably uncomfortable. "Now step back or you will regret this." For a moment, the boys hesitated, unsure whether to challenge her. Emily watched, feeling a small spark of courage growing inside her. Mrs. Clara had always been kind to her, and seeing her stand up like this gave Emily a strange feeling, almost like she could stand tall herself, even in her wheelchair. Seeing that the boys were intimidated, Mrs. Clara knelt beside Emily and whispered gently, "Don't let them ruin your night. You belong here just like everyone else. Hold your head high." Emily felt warmth spread through her chest, the fear slowly giving way to courage. She took a deep breath and smiled faintly, nodding. The party continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. The group of bullies moved away, grumbling under their breath, while other teens quietly gave Emily small nods of encouragement. She realized that while cruelty existed, there were also people willing to protect and support her. After a few minutes, Emily's friends guided her to the center of the room. Music played a soft tune, and soon Emily found herself joining in on a small dance circle. Though she couldn't dance like everyone else, she moved her wheelchair in rhythm with the music, spinning gently, laughing and clapping her hands. Her laughter was quiet at first, but grew louder as the night went on. Mrs. Clara watched from a distance, smiling softly. She had been through many challenges herself and knew the power of kindness and courage. She also understood that sometimes lessons didn't need harsh words. They needed calm strength. Tonight she had shown Emily that courage could come from unexpected places, and that no one had the right to take away someone's joy. Meanwhile, Derek and Tom lingered in the background, their previous confidence shaken. For the first time that night, they realized that their words and actions could be confronted, not with anger, but with calm authority. They had laughed at Emily, but they hadn't counted on her resilience or the quiet strength of someone who cared for her. As the night wore on, Emily felt a sense of belonging she hadn't expected. She laughed with her friends, told stories, and even shared her favorite snacks. Each smile and kind word reminded her that one cruel moment didn't define her. She was more than their words, more than their mockery. She was Emily, a girl with dreams, courage, and the support of people who truly cared. By the end of the party, Emily realized something important. Life would always have challenges, and some people might not be kind. But she had discovered that courage could be quiet, resilience could be strong, and help could come from the most unexpected places. Mrs. Clara had not only defended her, but also reminded her of her own inner strength. As the last guests left and the lights dimmed, Emily looked around the now quiet room. She felt a mixture of relief and pride. Tonight had been difficult, but it had also been enlightening. She knew that she could face bullies, criticism, or fear, as long as she remembered the strength she had felt tonight. Emily wheeled herself toward Mrs. Clara and whispered, "Thank you. You made me feel brave." Mrs. Clara's eyes softened, and she placed a gentle hand on Emily's shoulder. "You were always brave, Emily. I just reminded you of it." And in that moment, Emily understood something important. Strength wasn't always about physical power, it was about heart, courage, and the kindness that people shared with one another. The first part of Emily's journey had come to an end, but her story was only beginning. The lessons she learned tonight would stay with her forever, shaping the way she faced the world and the way she inspired others around her. The morning after the party, Emily woke up feeling a strange mix of pride and unease. Pride, because she had faced the bullies and not let them ruin her night. Unease, because she knew that Derek and Tom had not forgotten their humiliation. The thought made her stomach twist with worry, but she quickly pushed it aside. Today was a new day, and she refused to let fear rule her. Emily's mother, Mrs. Johnson, noticed the change in her daughter. Over breakfast, she smiled and said, "You seem happier this morning, Emily. Did something good happen at the party?" Emily nodded, her eyes shining. "Mrs. Clara helped me, and she reminded me that I can be brave even when people are mean." Her mother reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm proud of you." Courage is about facing challenges, not avoiding them. At school, the usual routine went on. Students filled the hallways, laughing, talking, and rushing to classes. Emily moved through the crowds in her wheelchair, holding her head high. She remembered Mrs. Clara's words and felt a quiet strength inside her. However, the hallways were not free from the whispers of Derek and Tom. They spotted her immediately and exchanged glances. Their smirks were gone, replaced with a mixture of frustration and irritation. They had underestimated Emily, and that stung more than anything. "Hey, Emily," Derek called out, forcing a laugh. "Good to see you back in school. Did the party scare you?" Emily paused for a moment, then smiled calmly. "No, Derek, the party taught me a lot. Maybe one day you'll understand that kindness is stronger than cruelty." The words surprised Derek. He opened his mouth to reply, but Emily rolled past him with quiet confidence, leaving him staring after her. Tom muttered something under his breath, clearly uncomfortable. For the first time, Emily sensed that she held a small power, the power of dignity, courage, and calm self-respect. After classes, Emily went to see Mrs. Clara at the Johnsons' house. Mrs. Clara had promised to spend some time with her, offering guidance and support whenever Emily felt overwhelmed. They sat together in the sunlit kitchen, where Mrs. Clara poured them each a glass of lemonade. "You were amazing last night," Mrs. Clara said, her eyes warm with pride. "Not many people can stay calm when others are cruel. You did more than just defend yourself. You inspired others to think about their actions." Emily sipped her lemonade, feeling a warmth that had little to do with the drink. "But what if they try to hurt me again?" she asked quietly, her voice tinged with worry. Mrs. Clara leaned closer. "Emily, courage doesn't mean you won't be afraid. Courage means you face your fear even when your heart is beating fast. And remember, you're never alone. People who care about you are always nearby, ready to help." The words resonated with Emily. She thought of her friends at school, her supportive family, and of course, Mrs. Clara. Each of them reminded her that she had a network of love and strength around her. Meanwhile, at school, Derek and Tom were plotting. Their bruised egos could not accept the idea that Emily had faced them without fear. They whispered in corners, trying to think of ways to humiliate her again. Yet something had changed. Their classmates, who had once laughed at Emily, now watched her differently. They admired her courage. Some even whispered warnings to Derek and Tom, making the boys realize that their behavior was no longer accepted. Emily, unaware of their plotting, focused on her schoolwork and hobbies. She had always loved painting, and after the party she found herself sketching scenes from her life. She painted the colorful balloons, the dancing, and even the moment Mrs. Clara had stood up to the bullies. Each stroke of the brush gave her a sense of peace and control. One afternoon, Mrs. Clara called Emily to help her in the garden. "I want to show you something," she said mysteriously. Emily followed her outside, where the sun warmed her face and the scent of flowers filled the air. Mrs. Clara led her to a small plot where seeds had been planted. "These seeds," Mrs. Clara began, "are like courage. At first they seem small and weak. But with care, patience, and protection, they grow into strong plants. Your courage is just like these seeds. Every time you face fear or cruelty, your courage grows stronger." Emily nodded, understanding the metaphor. She touched the soil gently, feeling connected to the tiny seeds below. "I want to be brave like that," she said softly. "You already are," Mrs. Clara replied. "You just need to nurture it every day. And remember, courage is not only about defending yourself, it's about standing up for what is right, even when it's hard." As the days passed, Emily began to notice subtle changes. Her classmates treated her with more respect, and some even reached out to befriend her. Derek and Tom, though still present, were no longer able to intimidate her. They had learned slowly that cruelty could not overpower quiet confidence and dignity. One afternoon, as Emily moved through the school hallway, she saw a younger student being teased by a group of older kids. Without hesitation, Emily wheeled herself over. "Hey," she said firmly but kindly. "Stop that. No one deserves to be treated this way." The older kids looked at her in surprise. "Who are you to tell us what to do?" one of them asked. Emily smiled calmly. "I'm someone who has learned that strength isn't about size or power. It's about heart and courage." The older kids hesitated, then walked away, leaving the younger student smiling and grateful. Emily felt a sense of pride she had never known before. She realized that her experiences, painful as they were, had prepared her to help others, to be a voice for those who couldn't speak up. When she returned home, Emily found Mrs. Clara waiting with a warm smile. "I heard about what you did today," she said. "I'm very proud of you." Emily blushed slightly. "I just wanted to help. It felt..." "Right," Mrs. Clara nodded. "That's the essence of courage. Helping others, standing up for what is right even when it's scary. You're growing into a remarkable young woman, Emily. Remember this feeling and hold on to it. It will guide you through life." That evening, Emily sat by her window looking at the sky painted with orange and pink hues. She reflected on the events of the past few days, the party, the bullies, her own fears, and the quiet strength she had discovered within herself. She realized that life would always have challenges, but with courage, kindness, and determination, she could face anything. Her mind drifted to the future. She imagined herself helping others, spreading awareness about kindness and standing up against injustice wherever she saw it. She felt a surge of hope and purpose. Emily understood that one act of courage could spark many others, creating ripples of change in the world. As the stars began to twinkle, Emily whispered to herself, "I will never let fear control me. I will be brave for myself and for others." Mrs. Clara, standing quietly in the hallway, overheard Emily's words. She smiled, knowing that the young girl before her had grown stronger in just a few days. The seeds of courage had been planted, nurtured by kindness and experience. And Emily's journey, though just beginning, promised to inspire many more hearts along the way. The lessons of the party were now clear. Cruelty could be faced, fear could be overcome, and courage could flourish in the most unexpected places. Emily had discovered the power of resilience and the importance of standing tall, even when the world seemed unfair. With that realization, Emily closed her eyes for the night, feeling a deep sense of peace. She was no longer just the girl in a wheelchair. She was a young woman with courage, compassion, and an unwavering spirit. The following week brought a new sense of excitement and anticipation for Emily. After the events at the party and her growing confidence at school, she felt that nothing could shake her spirit. She had learned to face fear and had discovered the power of her own courage. Yet life has a way of testing even the strongest hearts, and Emily was about to face a challenge unlike any she had encountered before. It was a bright Monday morning when Emily arrived at school. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting warm patterns on the floor. Students moved hurriedly through the hallways, chatting, laughing, and exchanging greetings. Emily maneuvered her wheelchair with ease, her mind focused on the day ahead. She felt calm and prepared. As she entered the classroom, she noticed something unusual. Derek and Tom were seated in the back, whispering to each other, their eyes occasionally flicking toward her. There was a tension in the air, subtle but unmistakable. Emily sensed that they were plotting something, though she didn't know what. She took a deep breath and reminded herself of Mrs. Clara's words. Courage is facing fear even when your heart is beating fast. The day went on with classes, lessons, and activities. Emily concentrated on her schoolwork, ignoring the occasional sneers or whispers from Derek and Tom. She noticed, however, that some of the other students were watching her closely, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and admiration. She realized that her actions had begun to influence others, quietly encouraging kindness and courage in ways she had never imagined. During lunch, Emily joined her friends at their usual table. Mia and Sarah greeted her with smiles. "Emily, you're amazing," Mia said. "I heard what you did yesterday when you helped that younger student. Everyone's talking about it." Emily blushed but smiled. "I just did what felt right. That's all?" Sarah leaned closer. "You know, Emily, you've changed the way we see things. People are starting to think twice before being mean. Even Derek and Tom are quieter around you now." Emily felt a surge of pride but also a quiet concern. Quiet as they were, she knew Derek and Tom were not done. Their pride had been wounded and they were determined to regain control somehow. After lunch, Emily returned to class. The teacher, Mrs. Harper, announced a special project. "This week we will work on a group activity about teamwork and problem solving. Each group will be assigned a task, and every member's contribution is important. I expect everyone to participate fully and respectfully." Emily's heart sank slightly as she saw the group assignments. By chance, or perhaps design, she had been placed in a group with Derek and Tom. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. The group gathered at a table and Derek smirked. "Looks like we get to work with the hero of the school," he said sarcastically. Emily remained calm. "I just want us to do our best," she said. "If we work together, we can succeed." Tom rolled his eyes but said nothing. Emily's calmness seemed to unsettle them more than anger or confrontation ever could. As the project began, Derek and Tom tried to take control, suggesting ideas and dismissing Emily's suggestions. But Emily stayed patient, listening carefully and speaking when necessary. She made sure her points were clear, practical, and helpful. Gradually, other group members began to notice the difference in approach. Emily's ideas were constructive, focused, and respectful. By the middle of the session, a subtle shift had occurred. The other group members started supporting Emily's suggestions, while Derek and Tom grew frustrated. They realized that their usual tactics, mockery, sarcasm, and arrogance didn't work against her anymore. Feeling the tension, Emily took a gentle but firm step forward. "We all have strengths," she said quietly. "If we work together and listen to each other, we can finish this project well. Let's focus on the task, not on proving who's better." Her words had an immediate impact. Even Derek and Tom paused, considering her point. Slowly, they began to contribute in a more productive way, though their pride still lingered beneath the surface. Emily felt a small sense of accomplishment. She had faced a challenge not with anger, but with calm determination and teamwork. After class, Emily wheeled herself to the library to work on her notes. She loved the quiet atmosphere, where sunlight streamed through tall windows and the scent of books filled the air. As she worked, she overheard a conversation between two students discussing a rumor about Derek and Tom planning another prank. Not at her, but at someone else. Emily's heart quickened. She knew she had to act, not out of fear, but out of a sense of responsibility. She approached the students and asked for details. They explained that Derek and Tom were planning to embarrass another student during a school assembly. hoping to regain their status and show power over others. Emily's mind raced. She couldn't allow this to happen, but she also knew confrontation had to be thoughtful. She decided to seek help from Mrs. Clara, who had taught her how to handle challenges with courage and wisdom. Later that evening, Emily called Mrs. Clara. "There's a situation at school," Emily explained. "Derek and Tom are planning to humiliate another student. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but I also don't want to create more conflict." Mrs. Clara listened carefully, then nodded. "You're right to be concerned, Emily. Courage isn't just about defending yourself, it's also about standing up for others. But remember, we need a plan. Think calmly, act wisely, and use your strength to guide, not to fight." Emily spent the next hours preparing. She wrote down her thoughts, rehearsed how to speak confidently, and planned to approach the situation calmly and respectfully. She also spoke to her parents, who supported her decision to help. The day of the assembly arrived. Students gathered in the school auditorium, buzzing with excitement. Emily wheeled herself into the front row, her heart steady but determined. She had decided that instead of confronting Derek and Tom aggressively, she would use her voice and influence to stop their plan. As the assembly began, Emily noticed Derek and Tom whispering and smirking, clearly ready to execute their prank. She took a deep breath and approached the stage when it was her turn to speak. "Good morning, everyone," Emily began, her voice clear and steady. "I want to say something important. We all come to school to learn and to grow, not to hurt each other. Kindness and respect matter more than power or popularity. If someone is being bullied or humiliated, it affects everyone in this room. We all have a choice to help or to harm." The room fell silent. Students turned to look at her, and even Derek and Tom paused, surprised by her courage. Emily continued, speaking from her heart. "I know it's easy to follow what others do, but true strength comes from standing up for what is right. I hope everyone here will choose kindness today, and every day." Her words resonated through the auditorium. Some students nodded, inspired. Others whispered among themselves. Derek and Tom, seeing the reaction, felt a mixture of embarrassment and admiration. For the first time, they realized that power wasn't in intimidation. It was in respect, understanding, and courage. After the assembly, several students approached Emily to thank her for speaking up. Even the student who had been the target of the prank smiled gratefully. Emily felt a sense of pride unlike any she had known. She had faced fear, stood up for someone else, and made a difference without using anger or aggression. That evening, Emily returned home and found Mrs. Clara waiting. "I heard about the assembly," she said, her eyes shining. "You did wonderfully. You didn't just protect someone. You inspired an entire room." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "It was scary at first," she admitted. "But I remembered what you told me about courage, and I realized that helping others feels stronger than protecting myself." Mrs. Clara nodded. "Exactly, Emily. Courage is not only about facing fear, it's about making the right choice even when it's difficult. You've grown so much, and this is just the beginning." As Emily went to bed that night, she reflected on the past few weeks. From the party to the assembly, she had faced fear, cruelty, and uncertainty. Yet she had discovered her inner strength, the power of kindness, and the impact one person could have on the world. She realized that life would continue to bring challenges, but with courage, patience, and wisdom she could face anything. Emily closed her eyes, feeling a deep sense of peace. She was no longer just the girl in a wheelchair. She was a young woman with courage, compassion, and the ability to inspire change. Her journey was far from over, but she now knew that she had the heart and strength to face whatever came next. Days passed after the school assembly, and Emily began to notice changes around her. The atmosphere at school had shifted subtly. Students were more considerate, speaking kindly to each other and offering help without waiting to be asked. Teachers noticed the change too, praising the students for their cooperation and mutual respect. Emily felt proud, knowing that her small act of courage had inspired a ripple of kindness throughout the school. Yet, one group remained quietly unsettled: Derek and Tom. Though their plans had failed and their usual tactics no longer worked, their frustration simmered beneath the surface. They were not used to being powerless, and the realization that Emily's words had humbled them still lingered. They whispered among themselves during lunch, trying to figure out how to regain their sense of control. Emily, however, remained calm. She had faced their intimidation before and learned that fear was not the answer. She focused on her studies, her friends, and her hobbies like painting and reading, which helped her stay centered and confident. One afternoon, Mrs. Clara called Emily over while she was watering the garden. "Emily," she said, "I think it's time we address something important. Courage is not only about facing challenges, it's also about helping others understand the right way to act. Sometimes people need a gentle lesson to guide them toward kindness." Emily tilted her head curiously.
"Do you mean Derek and Tom?"
Mrs. Clara nodded. "Yes, they are young and they have the potential to change. But they must learn that actions have consequences. And they must understand that true strength comes from respect, not cruelty." Emily listened carefully, feeling a mix of nervousness and determination. She had never imagined confronting the bullies in a more direct way, but she trusted Mrs. Clara's guidance. Together they began to plan a thoughtful approach, not to humiliate Derek and Tom, but to help them understand the impact of their actions. The next day at school, Emily waited for the right moment. During a group activity in the classroom, she approached Derek and Tom quietly. "Can we talk for a moment?" she asked. Her voice was calm yet firm. Derek looked annoyed. "What now?" he muttered, though curiosity flickered in his eyes. Emily took a deep breath. "I want to show you something," she said, leading them to the empty art room where she often painted. Inside, sunlight streamed through large windows, illuminating the room with warmth. On the tables were her paintings, scenes of everyday life, people helping each other, moments of courage and kindness. Derek and Tom stared, slightly confused. "What's all this?" Tom asked. "These are moments I've painted," Emily explained. "Moments that show kindness, courage, and respect. I want you to see what people are capable of when they choose to help, rather than hurt." At first, the boys were silent, unsure how to react. Emily pointed to a painting of a girl helping another student who had fallen. "See this?" she said. "This could be anyone at any time. The choice to help or to harm matters. Actions have consequences, and they affect more people than we realize." Slowly, Emily continued, showing them other paintings that depicted small acts of courage. Students standing up for others, friends helping each other, and moments where people made a difference through kindness. Derek and Tom looked at the paintings, a strange mixture of guilt and understanding crossing their faces. Emily spoke gently. "I know it's not easy to change, but it's never too late. You can choose to be better, to make a positive impact instead of causing pain. It starts with small decisions, being kind, respecting others, and thinking before you act." For the first time, Derek spoke quietly. We never thought about it that way." Tom nodded slowly. "We just wanted to be noticed, I guess. We didn't realize how much our actions hurt people." Emily smiled softly. "It's okay to make mistakes. What matters is what you do after. You can choose to learn and grow, or you can continue the same patterns. The choice is yours." The boys were silent for a long moment, reflecting on her words. Emily waited patiently, knowing that understanding sometimes takes time. Finally, Derek spoke again. We want to try. We don't want to hurt anyone anymore." Emily nodded. "That's all I ask. Start with small acts of kindness, and you'll see how it changes you and those around you." After that conversation, a noticeable change began to occur. Derek and Tom no longer mocked other students. Instead, they tried to contribute positively in class, helped others with assignments, and even offered apologies to students they had previously teased. Emily's calm guidance and Mrs. Clara's wisdom had planted a seed of reflection and change in their hearts. Word spread throughout the school about the incident in the art room, and students began to speak more openly about kindness and respect. Emily's courage had not only helped her confront fear, but it also guided others toward understanding and growth. Teachers praised her maturity and emotional intelligence, and her friends admired the calm strength she displayed even in difficult situations. At home, Emily shared the developments with Mrs. Clara. "They're really trying to change," Emily said, her eyes shining with hope. "It feels amazing to see them make better choices." Mrs. Clara smiled warmly. "You've done more than you realize, Emily. You helped them see that strength comes from compassion, not cruelty. And you did it with patience and courage, qualities that will guide you through life." The days continued with small but meaningful changes. Students who had previously been indifferent began to act more kindly. Classroom discussions included respect for everyone's abilities, and bullying incidents decreased significantly. Emily realized that one person's courage could influence an entire community, spreading understanding and empathy in ways she had never imagined. One afternoon, during art class, Emily received a surprise. Derek and Tom approached her holding small pieces of paper. We wanted to thank you," Derek said, his voice hesitant but sincere. "We painted these for you, to show our appreciation for helping us see things differently." Emily took the papers carefully and looked at the paintings. Each one depicted acts of kindness and moments of courage, inspired by the lessons she had taught them. Her eyes filled with tears of joy. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm proud of both of you for choosing to change." Tom nodded. "It wasn't easy, but you helped us understand. We're really sorry for everything we did before." Emily smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "It's okay. What matters is what you do next." That evening, Emily reflected on the events that had unfolded. From the party where she had been bullied, to the assembly, and finally to guiding Derek and Tom toward understanding. She realized how much she had grown. She had learned that courage was not just about facing fear. It was about helping others, inspiring change, and creating a positive impact on the world. Mrs. Clara entered the room quietly and sat beside her. "Emily, do you see what you've accomplished?" she asked. "You've turned fear into courage, cruelty into understanding, and challenges into lessons. That is the mark of true strength." Emily nodded, feeling a sense of peace. "I never imagined that I could make a difference like this," she admitted. "But now I know that even small actions can change people's hearts." Mrs. Clara placed a gentle hand on Emily's shoulder. "And this is only the beginning. Life will always present challenges, but with courage, patience, and kindness, you can face anything. Remember, Emily, the world is brighter when you choose to shine, even in the darkest moments." Emily looked out the window at the sunset, painting the sky with colors of orange, pink, and purple. She thought of the party, the assembly, and the art room, each moment a step in her journey of courage and compassion. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for Mrs. Clara, her friends, and everyone who had supported her along the way. In that moment, Emily realized something profound. Strength was not measured by physical ability or popularity, but by the heart, the choices one made, and the courage to face life with kindness. She knew that the lessons she had learned would guide her forever, shaping the way she faced the world and inspired others. As night fell, Emily closed her eyes with a sense of contentment. She had faced fear, guided others, and discovered the true meaning of courage. The journey was far from over, but she felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in her heart and spirit. The weeks that followed the lesson in the art room brought a remarkable change to the school. Emily noticed it in the way students greeted one another, in the way teachers praised acts of kindness, and in the subtle smiles that spread across hallways once filled with whispers and cruelty. What had started as a personal challenge for Emily had blossomed into a movement of compassion, respect, and courage. Emily's friends, Mia and Sarah, were among the first to notice the shift. "Emily, it's amazing," Mia said one morning during lunch. "People are so much kinder now, and it's because of you." Emily shook her head, smiling softly. "I just tried to do the right thing. Others chose to follow, and that's what makes the difference." Even Derek and Tom had changed. No longer bullies, they now tried to set a better example. They still made mistakes at times, forgetting old habits, but they were willing to learn. They apologized sincerely to anyone they had hurt, and were slowly earning the trust of their classmates. Emily observed them from a distance with a quiet satisfaction, knowing that true change took time and patience. One afternoon, the school organized a community service project. Students were grouped together to clean a local park, plant trees, and organize activities for younger children. Emily was assigned to a group that included Derek and Tom. At first, she felt a twinge of nervousness remembering past encounters. But she quickly reminded herself of everything she had learned about courage, patience, and empathy. As the group began their work, Emily noticed how Derek and Tom were making a genuine effort. They were lifting fallen branches, organizing supplies, and even helping younger students plant flowers. The sight filled Emily with hope. People could change. People could learn from kindness. During a break, Emily wheeled herself over to a bench where a younger girl from another group sat looking frustrated. Her name was Lily, and she had been struggling to plant a sapling. Without hesitation, Emily leaned forward and offered her help. "Here, let me show you how to hold it steady," Emily said softly. With patient guidance, Lily was able to plant the sapling successfully. Her face lit up with pride and she hugged Emily briefly. "Thank you. You're really kind," she said. Emily smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. She had come to understand that true courage wasn't about grand gestures. It was in these small moments of helping and inspiring others. Meanwhile, Derek and Tom were quietly observing Emily's interaction. Something had shifted inside them too. They realized that their strength did not come from mocking others, but from supporting, encouraging, and standing up for what was right. After the community project, the students gathered in the park for a reflection session. Teachers encouraged everyone to share their experiences. Emily spoke first, her voice calm but full of emotion. "Today was wonderful," she began. "We planted trees, helped each other, and worked together as a team. I realized that courage is not only about standing up for yourself. It's about standing up for others and making choices that bring kindness into the world. Every small action can make a difference." Her words resonated with the crowd. Students nodded, some smiling shyly, others inspired to take more responsibility in their daily lives. Even Derek and Tom listened quietly, absorbing the message that had transformed not only Emily's life but theirs as well. Later, as the sun began to set, Emily wheeled herself to a quiet spot under a large oak tree. The golden light painted the park in warm hues and the gentle breeze rustled the leaves. She thought of the journey she had traveled, from the party where she had been hurt and humiliated, to standing up for herself and others, and finally guiding her peers toward kindness. Mrs. Clara, who had come to support the students during the project, joined her. "You've grown so much, Emily," she said, her voice soft and proud. "You've faced challenges, guided others, and discovered the true meaning of courage." Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sunset. "I've learned that courage isn't just about fighting back. It's about choosing what is right, even when it's hard. And it's about helping others find their own strength." Mrs. Clara smiled. "Exactly. And you've done it all with patience and kindness. That is a rare gift, Emily. Never forget it." As they sat together, Emily reflected on the people who had helped her along the way. Her friends, her family, and of course Mrs. Clara. She realized that no one could face life alone, and that true strength often comes from the support and guidance of those who care. The next day at school, Emily noticed a new sense of confidence in herself. She no longer feared whispers, sneers, or judgment. She understood that her value was not determined by others' opinions, but by her own actions, choices, and the courage she carried within her. During art class, Emily received a surprise. The teacher had organized a special display of student artwork, and several students had painted scenes inspired by her journey. One painting showed a girl in a wheelchair standing tall as sunlight broke through the clouds, a symbol of hope, courage, and resilience. Emily's eyes filled with tears of joy. She had never imagined that her experiences could inspire others in such a beautiful way. She realized that the lessons she had learned were not only for herself, but for everyone around her. Courage, kindness, and compassion could create a chain of positive change, reaching far beyond what one person could imagine. That evening, Emily returned home, feeling a deep sense of peace. She shared her experiences with her parents and Mrs. Clara, describing the students' artwork, the community project, and the growing atmosphere of kindness at school. Her family listened with pride, impressed by the strength, wisdom, and maturity Emily had shown. Emily's mother hugged her tightly. "You've done something truly remarkable, Emily. Not only have you grown, but you've helped others grow too. You've made the world a little brighter, and that is something to cherish." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth that came from deep within. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she also knew that she was ready to face fear, to guide others, and to continue spreading courage and kindness wherever she went. The days turned into weeks, and Emily's story became known throughout the school. Students spoke about her bravery, teachers admired her wisdom, and even Derek and Tom had become advocates of positive behavior. Emily had transformed not only her own life, but also the lives of those around her. One afternoon, as Emily wheeled herself through the quiet hallway of her school, she overheard a younger student speaking to friends. "I want to be brave like Emily." She stood up for herself and for others. "She's amazing." Emily smiled quietly to herself. This was the moment she had hoped for. Not recognition for herself, but the hope that her courage would inspire others to act with kindness and bravery. She realized that true success was not in fame or applause, but in the quiet moments where hearts were changed, lives were touched, and hope was nurtured. That night, Emily sat by her window looking at the stars. She thought of everything she had faced: the party, the bullies, the assemblies, the community projects, and the transformations she had witnessed. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey, for the people who had supported her, and for the strength she had discovered within herself. Mrs. Clara entered the room quietly and placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. "You've done something remarkable, Emily. You've turned fear into courage, cruelty into understanding, and challenges into lessons. The world is better because of your heart and determination." Emily smiled, tears of joy and fulfillment in her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance. You taught me that courage is not just about facing fear. It's about helping others, making the right choices, and spreading kindness." Mrs. Clara nodded. "And that lesson will continue to guide you. Emily, remember, no matter what life brings, your courage and compassion will always light the way." Emily looked out at the night sky, feeling a calm confidence she had never known before. She knew that life would bring more challenges, but she also knew that she was ready to face fear, ready to inspire, and ready to make the world a brighter, kinder place. And in that quiet moment, Emily understood the true meaning of strength. It was not in being unhurt, unafraid, or perfect, but in standing tall, helping others, and nurturing the courage within, no matter what obstacles life placed in her path. Her journey had begun with a cruel moment at a party, but it had grown into a story of courage, kindness, and transformation. Emily had discovered the power of her own heart and the impact one person could have on the world. And she knew that as long as she continued to act with courage and compassion, she could face anything life brought and inspire others to do the same. With a heart full of hope and determination, Emily whispered softly to herself, "I will always choose courage. I will always choose kindness. And I will never stop shining no matter what comes my way."